What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Julian of Lacrimas Profundere. Thank you so much for being here today. It's great to have you here.
You're pretty good. Thanks for having me, man.
Any,
Thanks a lot.
anytime, man. Anytime. Again, I've been practicing that name all weekend. I think I got it down to a T. So
You got it pretty good. You got it pretty good. I know that it's hard for the people in the US to pronounce it, but I think that you did great. So no worries.
thank you.
Besides, that is the way that you say it, and I like that. That's your own way. I
thank,
like it.
thank you. And it does mean, I believe, in Latin to shed tears. I believe, right? So
Yes. It's the name. I mean, Lacrimas has been a band that it's been on the road for such a long time already. You know, they actually started the band in 1992, exactly the year that I was born. So it has a story. It has a story.
the year before I was born. But this new album, I think, is the best album in the Lacrimas catalog. To shroud yourself with the night. Being that correct me if I'm wrong, but this was your second album with the band, right?
That's right.
Yep. So did
That's
you
right.
did you just consider this sort of a picking up where you left off after Bleeding the Stars, or was this meant to kind of be like a new beginning for Lacrimas in a way?
Well, the way that I feel that everything went down is Bleeding the Stars was a totally new chapter for Lacrimas. Not only because they had me as a new singer, but also because the whole lineup changed. You know, I remember that during the first rehearsals that we were having together with a new lineup, our sound engineer, he was like wow, like this sounds so different. And then he was like, of course it sounds different. It's basically like if it would be a different band, you know. Of course, the soul of what Lacrimas is, it's there, and it's always going to be there. But there's a new energy, there's a new air, there's a second breath to it. So Bleeding the Stars was, to me, that sort of transition for arriving to How to Shroud Yourself with Night. Many reviews have said that everything sounds more mature with a new lineup, and everything sounds more comfortable, so to say, you know. And I think that's exactly the way that we felt. So it's something separate from Bleeding the Stars, because we almost wanted to kill ourselves from Bleeding the Stars, you know, for not doing the same thing. But at the same time, Bleeding the Stars was that transition to the new Lacrimas.
Being that we you released three singles so far of this album, and it's coming out this week, this Friday, day after tomorrow. Do you feel that I listened to the album, it's excellent. For people who haven't heard the full album yet, do you feel that the first three singles that you released are a good representation of what the entirety of this album will sound like, or is there a lot more to be discovered and a lot more tricks and twists?
There's definitely a lot more to it, that I'm not talking about that lightly, you know. I'm not saying that because I'm supposed to say that. I'm
Mhm.
saying that because it is a record where I think the core of it is that it has so much variety, and it's so full of surprises. And somebody was mentioned that it has replay value. So every time that you're listening to it, you're discovering new stuff to it. We have released four singles, if I'm right. We released Cloak, which was the first single, then which is kind of like more portraying this new sound of Lacrimas. Wall of Gloom, which was a little bit more doom and dark on this big soundscape. The third one was what we were waiting for so much, because it's that one shock, that one movement that you never thought that you were gonna see from Lacrimas, you know. And I'm so proud of the band for deciding to take that sort of risk, you know. And then we have To Disappear in You, which is like more kind of that melodic metal or something like that. And there's more. There's more. I don't want to, of course I don't want to spoil it, because I want people to be able to listen to the record and still got that kind of things, like wow, like I was not expecting this. But there's as well gonna be some familiar kind of like alleys that we're gonna revisit, and it really has a lot to it. In my personal opinion, I like it more than Bleeding the Stars. Which I'm gonna be absolutely honest with you. There was a time somewhere around 2020 that I was like, what's going on? Like, why can't we get this to the point that we needed? You know, it was a lot of confusion, and I was not so sure about the record, etc. But time went by. We kept on working on the songs. We kept on working on the concept of it, and right now, I think that it's, in my opinion, is the best freaking album that the band has put out.
100%. 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I kind of wanted to actually ask you about that because when you joined the band in 2018, were you kind of looking at earlier materials, like going all the way back to and the when the Wings embraced us to Burning a Wish, etc.? Were you looking at earlier material, being like, okay, this is how I have to sing, this is what the band was about, or when you came in to Lacrimas, you were kind of allowed to bring a little bit of your own mix into the band?
Well, it's kind of a fun story because back in the days, I remember that it was my brother and my best friend who showed me Lacrimas. So I listened to Lacrimas like a long, long, long time ago when I was I don't know, like probably like 14, 15. I listened to some songs, and there was a period of time in the where I was regularly listening to them. But as well, and that's probably something kind of shocking that I'm gonna say, and that I have never said like openly. But there, after a few albums, like one or two albums, I stopped listening to them. You know, because it didn't kind of like bring anything that new kick. I'm a very restless person when it comes to artistic views. You know, I need to have something fresh, something. I need to have an evolution. I'm passionate for evolution. So. Once that I didn't get like something like that, I stopped listening to the band for a while. Then I was doing my own career and so on, and Oliver contacted me. He sent me this song like "Screams in Empty Halls." It didn't have a vocal line by them, but I was like, okay, like these sounds. Now we're talking like this sounds very appealing to me. So even if I would want to join the band and pretend to do the same than the other singers or the other generations of Lacrimas have done, I could never stick to that, because it's just not who I am. So from the very beginning, since I stepped into Lacrimas, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I do. I'm gonna have the influences that I have. If that is okay, if that works, that's awesome. If it doesn't work, it just doesn't work, and it is not for me, and I'm not your guy. So we tried it, and you had that influence. I mean, that is one of the reasons I think why Bleeding the Stars sounds so different. Because every song has a different vocal approach. So yeah, I definitely came to Lacrimas not to do the same that the other. It doesn't make sense for me to do the same that the other guys were doing. They were doing it great, and I respect them a lot, etc. So I want them to do that thing, and I do this other crazier stuff. So
Yeah.
that was my approach.
Well, when you sing like older material as opposed to the material you wrote, do you maybe have like a different attachment to it in a way, or like you feel like it resonates with you differently when you perform it in a way, or does it feel like in the end, Lacrimas is Lacrimas?
That's a very interesting question. One of the things that has caught my attention from the time that we've been touring is that sometimes people comes after the shows and they're telling me like, "Hey man, it's really really great how you're singing the previous songs. Like you make them yours," and that's pretty much what I think that it's happening. I like the songs, and I just turn them into I kind of like take them into my world, and I do my own sort of version of them. So to me, it's kind of like I will absorb them somehow, and I think that that's pretty much what I've been doing with my vocals and my career. I have kind of like learned to absorb and morph everything into my own kind of twisted world just somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel very comfortable with the previous songs, but of course I have a major attachment to the new ones. I really like them, especially the energy, because I'm very energetic on stage. So we wanted as well to figure out something that will keep up, songs that will keep up with the energy that I have. Because there are some other songs, for example, from Hope Is Here, that the chorus will hit, and as everything kind of stays on the same range, it feels like you have a wall of guitars and you have a wall of sound, and everybody sounds like freaking powerful, and the vocals are just like talking, during the chorus, and it's just like it's just kind of like a very weird feeling. So we just kind of like switch all of that to into the new world of Lacrima, so to say.
Hmm. And I know it's a very cliche question to ask, like, what are your influences and stuff. But when I hear your voice on this album and the last one, I've compared it from everything from Peter Steele to Billy Vallow to Aaron Stanthorpe of My Dying Bride. Like, I was able to see multiple vocal styles in the realm of goth and the realm of this sort of doom style. It was there like a specific
Mm.
gateway, and I know you've been listening to Rakimus as you mentioned since you were a teenager. So like,
Yeah.
what was there kind of like a key influence, or do you take inspiration from multiple sources and multiple figures?
Well, normally I don't talk too much about the influence that I have, just because the fact that I really like people to listen to whatever they want to listen.
Mm.
There are some bands that you mentioned. My Dying Bride, for example, I have never in my life listened to it. I don't listen to doom.
Okay.
I have basically almost never listened to them. Some stuff from Lacrimas and stuff, but that is not my kind of approach. And I think that's something that is working pretty good with Lacrimas right now, is that we have such a different influences. There is a collision of all of that, which it's creating the magic of what we're getting right now. But coming back to let's say like some influence that I would have, Slipknot, for example. I really love Slipknot, but I listen to so many different things. I can listen to Avenged Sevenfold and some more classical stuff. I can listen to Black Sabbath. I can listen to some classical music. I can listen to pop. I can listen to rap. I can listen to new artists, previous artists. So I'm kind of like, I like so many things that since I've been young, I always got curious to see how much I could develop my vocals, because I have a lower register. So lower things for me have always been kind of easy. But there was this time when I was listening to Avenged Sevenfold, for example, and I was like, dude, like I really want to sing this song and feel what it feels to give those notes and stuff. So I learned to do that, and there's different textures and different techniques, and I always compare it to having different guitars, and different cabinets for guitars and stuff. So for me to think that there is somebody that is singing all the same, in the same way during their whole career, for me, it's like if you would have just one guitar and you would only use that guitar in that one tone for the rest of your life. So, and I don't, that just doesn't feel like the person that I am. So I have tons of influences, man, like tons. Like I'm all over the place when it comes to. So many people get surprised, like, wow, you listen to rap and hip hop and stuff. Like, fuck yes. Like, I have absolutely zero like guilty pleasures or whatever.
There
So
shouldn't
I'm all around.
that there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure in music. You either like something or you don't like it, and I think that's the biggest bullshit concept. And you are right too. Like but saying that you never listened to Doom, do listen to Last Fair Deal Gone Down by Catatonia, because that is an amazing album. From what you were telling me that you do like, I do recommend checking that one out.
I should check it out. Actually, Oliver has mentioned Catatonia, but I have never listened to Catatonia.
Oh my god, you're
But I
missing
need to.
out.
I need to. Yeah, something that happened quite a lot right now is that I also, like, during my teenage, I was, let's say that I was in some sort of like growing like box where I shipped this. Let's say like it was my first attempt to vocals and stuff, but and songwriting. But then I realized that for what I wanted to do, I needed to kind of stop myself from listening to those things to reconstruct my artistic view and my vocals, etc. So let's say that I kind of like killed that for a while, which doesn't mean that I lost the skills to do that. But I had to kind of destroy that to be able to put myself, my head, my visions, my understanding, into something else and grow in a different way. So I'm constantly kind of doing that, and that just kind of gives me more weapons, more in songwriting and vocally. It just gives me more and more and more and more tools. And I'm so obsessed with trying new stuff. And honestly, last thing about it, I'm very happy to hear people like you saying that there are no guilty pleasures and stuff, because I think that there's so much toxicity in what you're supposed and not supposed to listen, what you're supposed to like and or dislike or so. So I really like to hear more variety and more people like you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And that just didn't just come from myself liking everything. It's just coming from analyzing stuff. You'll never find, no matter how many denim vests and metal logo patches you see, and like how metal everybody tries to be, everybody everybody has their stuff outside of metal that they listen to, and I don't believe anybody who tells me that they only listen to one genre. I think that is actually like impossible, um, because
Yes.
humans are
Yeah.
such a complex individual that you can't be defined by one sound. So
I completely agree, and I think that it is healthy.
yeah.
I think it is healthy because, and it's also healthy for the genre. I was watching a video about it, how they say that rock and metal are stuck in the past, and they do like a very good analyze about it. So I think that it's a good time for rock and metal and music in general. So I remain positive about it, but I think that we should analyze a little bit more all of these prejudges that we have sometimes towards new artists, and um, many stuff. It gets very arguable and complicated, but I'm glad to see more variety in people trying new things.
Yeah, and go from Cannibal Corpse to Whitney Houston, like anything like that. But
Absolutely.
yeah. Now we talked a lot about vocal techniques and stuff like that, but then there's also lyrics that are involved as well. Have you always needed to hear music before you
Mm.
have any lyrics written, or have you ever had a lyrical idea that can maybe help influence the music itself?
I normally write the music first every time. That's just kind of the way that I figure out that I was able to write songs. I was picking up the acoustic guitar, and then I was making a melody, and then I was putting the lyrics on that melody. I figured out some months ago that also writing the lyrics first might be interesting. It's just like different approach, but the way that I feel the most comfortable is just listening to the music first and then writing the lyrics. About the lyric contents, I think that all of that comes very organically. Depending on what is going on in your life at that point, if you want to talk about a certain topic or so, everything just starts developing so much. And I know I'm not a person that kind tries to cage the song, and it's like, oh, you're gonna be what I want you to be. It's more like, okay, I have this idea, I have this sort of like piece of soul. So show me where you want to go. There are songs that I have started with one kind of direction, and all of a sudden I just see them turning into something absolutely completely different, so I just let them go there. Of course, I require certain direction or level of obviously quality and stuff, but I just let it go and be very fluent, also about the concept and the lyrical content.
Yeah, and writing the lyrics, I'd imagine, is also before music has got to be difficult because you never want to have like the best lyrics and then they're always like one syllable over like every arrangement and you can't use them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but I think that one of the things that honestly fascinates me quite a lot is that I always talk about it, breaking the rules. It's like, if there is something that works for you, and I remember that there was a master class with a producer that I watched that say, okay, like, here's the blueprint, here's the book about how you can write a song and etc. But the first rule is, if something sounds good for you and feels good for you, go for it. It doesn't matter if it's against all of what the fucking book says. So for me, I let it breathe quite a lot,
Yeah.
when it comes to creating it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in order to get like that inspiration to write lyrics or vocal ideas, do you prefer to be in the company of your other bandmates, or isolation being such a great fuel for creativity, you prefer to write when you're more in solitude?
I absolutely. I'm one of the most solitary dudes that you ever come across. I basically live like in the middle of the forest, and in Finland. And yeah, every time actually it kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety when I'm working on a song with somebody, and we can be just jamming and stuff, and there's something good coming out of that. But for me, it's very necessary to say like, okay, let's go home, and each one of us is gonna focus and work fully on this. And for me, that's when it gets real, which it doesn't mean that it's that is true, but for me, that is my approach. I really need to have my time to really focus into harmonies and melodies and lyrical content. And I definitely need the isolation. I'm a very solitary person, even though I own the social skills and I enjoy to talk with the people and I enjoy to be close with them. I need my fix of solitude for sure.
Of course, even though solitude is such a great fuel for creativity, because you can get lost in your own head easier, and there's no distractions. But when you, as you mentioned, living in the middle of the woods, if you do you find though that maybe it's a challenge if you're kind of like waking up to the same scenery every day, and there is kind of like a routine that you're involved in your solitude and environment of solitude.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's really fascinating because in one thing I think that solitude it really makes you or gives you the chance to be like very self have self reflection and grow a lot with your own thoughts. But it's also a dangerous place because you can get into a wrong turn very fast. You can end up depressed or whatever. And also the routine as well. There's some very good things about having a routine, but there are some other things that are very dangerous about having a routine and the creative space as well. So one of the things as well that I like is to try to go somewhere else. For example, when I'm touring with Lacrimas, I very often decide to stay there. Just to even sometimes just being on the hotel, and getting my headphones and walking down the street. All of that just, I guess that's the part that makes you feel alive. Uh, in what we are doing. So it's very important for me to figure out and keep a balance between all of that, for your own life and for the health of your creativity and stuff. But again, like everything, it works differently for everyone. I'm pretty sure that some people need to be completely wrecked and depressed and stuff so to write something. There's some other people that might have a different approach. So that's just what works for me and what I try to do.
Yeah, for some people, when they're at their worst, their art is at their best, and vice versa. Some people
Yeah.
can't write when they're in a bad state of mind, and I think that's what makes like everybody to me like. And I understand when people like say, oh well, this artist is very similar to this, or this artist clearly takes inspiration from this, but in the end, it's the
Mm.
process and their method of how they get there that I think makes every artist an individual.
Absolutely. And I think that is what really turned any creation into something special. I think that is what makes the difference, And I think that people can it's able to feel that. It's like the tons of bands that might be trying to just like sound exactly the same than the band that they love, and they have still not figured out that maybe I should try to morph this thing that I really like with some of the stuff or some other stuff that I really like with myself. And like sometimes you need to get into the studio, grab the guitar, and fuck up. Like you need to like fuck up in with your microphone and experiment and break the rules. And like that is a fun part, and that is at the end of the day is what makes the things alive and organic and real. And for me, that's what makes sense.
Yeah,
So I support that quite a lot.
yeah. While the destination is definitely a great achievement, it's the journey that I think ultimately counts.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And of course, when you write songs, there's always this feeling as well of what else could I have done with this track. And you're listening to it so many times that at the beginning you thought that maybe like one chorus was the best thing you ever heard, and after 2 months of listening to it straight daily, you're like, oh, okay, like it's not so awesome. It has happened to me that sometimes I think that one of the songs that I put out might be not exactly the best one, but there are some other people that connects with that. So it's really arguable
Yeah, definitely.
how it works.
So before we go, I want to
Mm.
thank you so much for your time and for such an awesome conversation. Is there just anything else with Lacrimas that you would like to promote with the release of this new album in terms of tours? Is there a chance that you could bring Lacrimas to the U.S. one day? We would love to have you guys here.
We will love to go there. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It was a very interesting conversation,
Well, thank you.
and one of the things that we are trying to do right now with this new generation of Lacrimas and with all of the new energy that we have on the stage and the variety that we have, the music, etc., is to try to get closer to all of those people who are listening to Lacrimas since a long while in other countries and they have never been able to watch a show. I know that there's a fan base in Latin America and the US, so on. So we are trying to keep on growing, you know, and to come back to be closer to every one of you. One of the things that we will desire the most is to go to the US. I remember that in I think it was 2021, we kind of have the talks about going to the US. And of course, as soon as we get the chance, we're heading there, man. I'm very happy that right now I've been doing more interviews for US networks because yeah, we want to keep on expanding, you know, and we are very excited to come across and keep on sharing what we love to do with every one of you.
Yeah.
And about the album, yeah, it's coming on Friday. It's coming in a few days, and we have put something very special in one of the deluxe boxes, the deluxe edition. We thought about giving away a shirt that I was wearing during the one of the latest shows. It's signed by the whole band, and the way that you're gonna know if you win this is we put like cash from Iceland, which it's one of the locations that we use for one of the previous videos from Bleeding the Stars. So I wrote something in there, and if you find that one, you're gonna be able to have the shirt. It doesn't matter like where you buy it in the U.S. or Latin America or whatever. So we're very excited. I'm very happy that you like the record. I'm very happy that everything with the record seems to be going great, you know, and I'm overall very thankful
Yeah.
with every one of you.
We're very thankful that Lacrimus continues to make music, and we'll be even more thankful when you come here to the U.S. It'll be a absolutely killer time. Thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Lacrimas Profundere. Be sure to check out the brand new album, August 26th, How to Shroud Yourself with Night. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.